GitHub. I'll link you into the GitHub so you can see what they're working on. At the time when I spoke to them, there were about 12 bugs they were working on to make, things more accessible within Word, never mind, but you don't just make it happen in Word, you've got to make sure it then bleeds through to the screen readers. So you can't just change Word, you also have to make sure and test it out with JAWS and NVDA and the other screen readers to make sure you haven't broken something by fixing something, So I think they've made sure that it all works all the way through. But I'll find the GitHub. I think, Joshua, you'll be interested in that. Yeah. But I was saying to my colleagues, it's really good to know that we're not that far removed. If we want something fixing, we can find the people we need to contact and drop them emails and go, why aren't you, like Cordelia has with the LaTeX consortium, right? It's like, what are you working on and when is it coming out, and stuff like that. We will get answers, so that's good to know.
Yeah, Luke's been doing lots too, and that's kind of partly that'd be useful to see what technology as a group we're using, what software in particular we as a group are using, because I think it also has more bite with people if you can turn up as a group rather than an individual. So yes, if anyone wants to lend the heft of this group to some developers, please do. I think generally everyone's keen to make things better. So scrolling through the what do we want for kind of what are we looking for? Lots of people are very keen on more getting actually physically together and working together. So is there anything in this kind of working together idea? Is there anything in particular we want to? Is that more of a kind of looking at how to sell accessibility to universities and get people to give us resources? Is that more the software side? Is that more working out how to convert LaTeX to whatever we want to? What are people most interested in that kind of side of things?
It's always hard to get this large group to talk, isn't it? I think if there was a way to break it out and then get the people to talk in twos or threes and then come back with replies, that might work.
I need a little more encouragement. I think I'm quite interested in looking at LaTeX, and I plan in the next term to spend a little time looking at that, because the LaTeX 3 people have spent quite a lot of effort in the last couple of years doing some work on tagging in LaTeX and making that more making better links to the PDFs that they generate. They recently, toward the end of last year, I think it was in this group, there was a brief discussion about a paper they published, and that I think needs some investigation. So if you're looking to report on what they plan to do, then I plan to do that. That's on my to-do list.
2 project members on the call, by the way. Hello.
What's that?
I said 2 LaTeX project members are on the call.
Are they?
Yeah, I'm David Carlisle. Hi.
Oh, hello, David. Well. Hello. I'm Norman Gray. I think we may have bumped into each other here and there.
Electronically many times over the years, yes. But I think it's the first time I've actually seen you.
Okay, hello. Well, very good to meet you, David.
Yeah, same hello from me, actually. So this is the second LaTeX person on the call, right?
Frank. Right.
Yeah.
I think we may actually have met physically.
I'm not sure. I mean, your face looks familiar, but I can't remember when. I'm in this business for more than 30 years, so I don't know when that could have happened.
I think when I was a PhD student, I visited Mainz as a physics student.
Then.
So
Mainz, yeah, could be.
Yeah. Well, very good to meet you. Hello.
Yeah, speaking of LaTeX, we are actually now in the position, well, somewhat restricted, but fully produce tagged PDF with mathematics automatically out of the box. And the derivation to HTML also works already quite nicely. So you actually have a one-go shop to have an accessible PDF as well as getting it to HTML if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
The problem really is this chicken and egg that so far the commercial reader side are not really embracing the standard that is out there for 6 years. But this is now changing, as I said in my in the document. We're really looking forward to see those commercial readers picking the stuff up, and the first one that actually is more or less there, and I think in February or so we see a full workflow is Foxit. So with Foxit, it would then be possible together with NVDA to have mathematical documents from LaTeX being fully read, for example. The hold up at the moment is NVDA. We have to wait for the next release to make sort of a full chain, but that is in plan. So in February or so, I think they have the next release, and there should be something that is really going from you generate a LaTeX document and you can have it read to you as well as derived to HTML from the PDF.
That's excellent. I was aware, obviously, of the work generating tags for PDFs, but I think it was only in that document that paper you published last year that I became aware of the additional effort to try and generate HTML directly. Now,
well, we are not generating it out of LaTeX at the moment, and I'm not sure that that will be a very sort of core focus in the next period of time. But the point is, if you have a good tagged PDF, there's an automatic way to generate HTML from that, which is really accessible as well. Right. So this is you can test that out. I mean, if you look at the latest discussion topics in on the project for tagging, then there are online editors where you can actually type in your LaTeX and you see how it would end up in HTML. So that's well, David, you're probably faster in putting the link to the examples to show people where to go to see that. But yeah, that's something that I think is really, we are really pleased with the results that we currently have. And the next goal is then to, beside broadening the support with more packages. At the moment, we have something like 600 packages being already supported.
Okay.
But beside that, the other goal is, of course, to get old LaTeX documents which are out on the web, for example, the whole of archive.org.
Yes.
To really just by reprocessing become accessible, and this is one of the goals for the next year.
That was really my next question, because the LaTeX ML people have set as a target being able to do convert everything on archive, for example. Is there a compatible similar target that is meaningful for the LaTeX project?
Well, the point is we are working with the archive people, so we are aware of their current approach of trying to run HTML generation for submissions. There's also a plan that I talked early this year, so in February or so, with Charles, the CTO from archive.org, that we really want to get the same for the PDFs, so that the PDFs will be accessible the way when they come in.
Right.
That is, as I said, on the plan.
Okay.
But it requires some work on the archive.org site, because to get really good accessible PDF with mathematics in it, the best solution is really to use LuaTeX, because LuaTeX is much more powerful. And you can do something with PDF tech, but it's not as good in the result. And the problem with archive.org at the moment is they currently don't even accept LuaTeX submissions. So everything has to be coming as PDF tech. This is because the software is, well, sorry, it has a long history, and I mean, maintaining 2 million documents and more, most of which are LaTeX. They have one workflow at the moment, which is basically saying we have to have PDF submissions, but PDF text submissions. But that is something they're planning to sort of work on, and then things will hopefully get much better in terms of getting the old documents as well made accessible.
So just so I'm sure to check out, I'm understanding you. The workflow you're talking about is LaTeX to tagged PDF, and then a PDF to HTML to MathML further step enabled by the tagging. Is that correct?
The tagging will include MathML in the PDF.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, right. I see.
That's
at that point. Right. Okay.
So this is why I said there will be access. At the moment, when you generate a LaTeX document with the new software that we are currently sort of working on, then you actually get MathML in the PDF.
Right. I see. I hadn't appreciated that.
So with Foxit, for example, as you could do it now with the development release, but the MathML we read by essentially with MathCat, so you would get the same reading as you would from a web page without converting to HTML. That directly NVDA plus Foxit will read the document and the math, reading the MathML.
Okay, right.
So you don't have to explicitly convert to HTML. Although of course you can.
Yeah. Okay, right. But that makes perfect sense. So the MathML is being used in a sense exactly where it should be, as a general maths format within other contexts, not just HTML.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually specified that way by PDF2 spec, but basically because no one generated it, the readers didn't bother implementing reading it. So it's
but this is why I'm quite hopeful, because with the event of LaTeX actually producing the PDF 2.0 as well as well-tagged PDF standard, and our documents are complying to the PDF UA2. The commercial vendors suddenly sort of, oops, we can't actually do that, and so there is some movement there, and as I said, Foxit is the first one who really runs upfront, and so I would expect others like Acrobat and so follow in due time, because there is now suddenly a market, if you like.
Right. I think I need to investigate Foxit. I've been saving this up as a Christmas present to myself. I've had no time this term at all. So I think working through that paper and following up all the references has been my plan. So this is an extremely opportune encounter today. And thank you.
Yes, thank you. That's a really, I think that's an update all of us had kind of, lots of us, I think, weren't necessarily aware of. So it's good to know where this kind of development is on the horizon too.
In the chat, I put a link to some maths tagged examples, and also an online server where you can type LaTeX and it will generate a tagged PDF for you. There's 2 links in the chat from me.
It would be worth having a kind of very an actual workshop then in maybe February, talking about LaTeX conversion in general, and working through some of these workflows together. And I'm Vincenzo's not here too, but I know he's just kind of developing some way of going straight from overleaf to HTML. So it might also be worth having a look at what he's done
Sorry,
there.
who did you say?
Vincenzo, I can't remember his surname. Charlotte, he's from Leeds. Yeah, there we go.
Do I get the impression that Foxit is Windows only?
No.
No?
It's not Windows only.
Okay.
Works on Mac OS as well.
Yeah, I was in difficulty finding a.
And I don't know about Linux, but
Okay, that's good. Some difficulty finding links, but good. I'll investigate them.
Excellent then. Also in the chat, there's this talk of from Charlotte, the Microsoft Converter. Has anyone else says come out this week?
I saw the advert. I haven't tried it. If that helps.
I've just had a look at the actual code. So it's using this Python library called PDF Miner, which has existed for a while. It's very, very minimal from what I can gather. I'm not sure how well it will do with equations. Might be worth trying.
That does seem a slightly odd direction to go in. As the library mentions, it's for e.g. for indexing or text analysis, so not necessarily for further use with humans. It's sort of a canonicalization, text canonicalization step, by the look of it, rather than a part of at the end of a workflow rather than the start. As a first impression.
And I guess maybe that's what they're aiming for there, is more of an output rather than a input converter.
So I suppose the link to Pandoc would be whatever markdown that produces, can Pandoc cope with it?
I was also thinking of, like, because you can go, well, maybe not from PDF, but you can go from like Word to whatever in Pandoc, to Markdown in Pandoc as well. So if it's
do the same route, I see.
Yes. But yeah, I agree, Norman. It sounds a bit like something so you can train your next AI model on all your Word documents or something, or PDFs, rather than for human consumption, maybe.
So an egg unscrambler.
Can I just add, I think from Cordelia's and my experiences as well, we have a lot of focus on outputs from lecturers and making that accessible, which is great. But on the flip side, students want to be able to make notes or make their own notes or output maths as well. And not all universities teach LaTeX, unfortunately, especially not in first year. And that's when they're grappling the most. And I know students hang on to PDFs more than HTML because there is greater understanding of how to make notes with PDF. There's lots of software that allows them to annotate on PDFs, more so than HTML. That is changing, but most of us still don't think about annotating HTML pages. So I think maybe in 2025, there's something there where if we can try and bring some students along to this meeting to, where there's a segment where they can try and tell us a little bit more about what they'd like to be able to do as they're learning maths, that would be quite useful for us.
The flip side of that, I entirely agree with that, but I think the flip side of that too is often students don't know / don't have the skills in order to access or fully appreciate everything they can do digitally. So I think there was actually a role we have in educating students beyond the kind of lecturing, but just in kind of almost digital skills. Yeah, it's amazing how much they don't know sometimes. Maybe that's unsurprising. Yeah, but that would also actually be good to have a kind of another kind of student focus, be a bit more student focused. I saw from where was it in the thing? Yeah, Steve Bolton in the still looking to boost my personal experience about accessible maths and learn about different options. Which kind of leads me to another thing. We've had loads of new members join this year, like a lot of new members, very keen members, which has been great. But lots of them are asking, like, where do I start? So some of us have been around the block for a while, some of us are new here. If you're new, where have you come up, and is there like a particular question? Have any of you had something where you're just like, I have no idea where to even begin with this? This feels like a deep end. What's your question? What's the kind of, do you have a question?
Yeah, I don't mind responding to that. I'm Steve. I posted that comment that Cordelia's just referenced. I've been at Durham University for about 2.25 years now, and probably one of the major things that faces us, I'm part of the digital learning developer team in the Faculty of Science, is the hugely inordinate amount of inaccessible content that's been chucked into the Blackboard system over since time immemorial, it seems to me. And we are trying to work with staff to encourage them to make the kind of legally required accessible formats available, but it's a very slow process. Things move quite slowly at Durham anyway. It's quite a sort of ancient historical institution where change doesn't necessarily come about that fast. But we have got a trial period now where we're working with folk at Newcastle with the Chiron tool to try and get people, we're encouraging people to try and make use of Chiron to try and convert their LaTeX original files, source files, mostly into accessible HTML format, because there's an LTI integration with Blackboard that enables them to do that relatively easily. We have come across a few kind of teething troubles. There's a lot of kind of random bits of LaTeX extension that people are using that Chiron doesn't support. So we're having to kind of talk to the folk at Newcastle about that and find workaround solutions. We've not had masses of inquiries about it so far, but we do, I think, have a couple of staff who are quite keen and quite they've used Chiron for a while and they are keen to promote it. So we're trying to get them on board to help us run some kind of workshops with staff in the different departments to see how that goes and promote the service. It's still kind of fairly early days, I would say, overall. Despite that, I still feel, I mean, I've been to this hugely useful JISC Accessible Maths group probably for about the last 18 months, but I still find when I come into the room that basically most of you speak a foreign language and talk in code and use words and names of software products and talk about programming languages and things that I just don't fully understand because I don't have the background in it. So I do find it daunting. So if you're also new to being in this group and you're kind of sitting there going, what's going on? Don't worry, I'm right with you. Also, I don't have a kind of mathematical sciencey or a particular computer science coding background really. So I do find it all a little bit like I'm making it up as I go along, which isn't necessarily professionally that comfortable a situation to find yourself in, particularly when you're supporting members of academic staff in the computer science department and you're trying to encourage them to do things in a particular way, and they have levels of kind of coding and programming skills that dwarf anything that I can pretend to have. So it's not the most comfortable set of circumstances, but we are trying to make slow progress. We're trying to make fast progress, but we're finding that the progress is slow so far.
I think those are very familiar feelings for lots of us, actually. And I'll dig out a link in a minute, but I would like to point out at this point, we do have a glossary for terms, but also anyone feel free to interrupt if suddenly we go off talking about something you have no idea what that acronym is or anything. Charlotte, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to kind of not respond to that, but yeah, say something about this. So yeah, I think I agree. This was definitely a learning curve at some point or another for a lot of us, and it's still like the whole accessible PDF side, for example, for me, I just don't understand how it works. It's not really what we're working on. But what we've been doing in Edinburgh, so it's not with Chiron, it's with BookML, which is a sort of comparable tool, basically. But the project we've been running here has been on like what do we need to get people who don't necessarily know much about either accessibility or the technical tools that are needed for it, or both. How do we get people to still basically buy in and use these things and produce materials? So if you're interested, I'm going to plug that we're doing a Talmo talk on the 15th of January. So for those who don't know, Talmo stands for Teaching and Learning Mathematics Online, I think. It's a kind of math education informal talks, like online talk seminars series. I think I've put a link in the document in my little bit. But so we're going to do that jointly with Vincenzo, who develops BookML. So he's going to talk about the tool a little bit, but also what they've been doing in Leeds, how they've gone about basically making people use it, spreading adoption. And we're on our side in Edinburgh, we're going to talk about how kind of we sort of also took a tool that was there and went about, or at least started to go about having people use it. So kind of creating documentation, templates, drop-in clinics, that sort of thing.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that Talmo talk, actually, and I will stick it on the group's calendar newsletter. Norman.
Responding to Stephen's remarks there, I think whenever anyone moves into a new area, I think it's insufficiently often recognised that they are in a very privileged position, because ignorance is a valuable commodity which decays. I mean, I'm honestly not even joking, because after a short while, once you do get up to speed, you will be in the same situation that you don't understand what folk don't understand. And so if there's some way in which you could capture the things that are disorienting, then that would be of use to everyone who isn't disoriented by them and is thus disabled in talking to students who are equally disoriented by the possibilities here.
I love that, and that's going to become the strapline on my CV now. Ignorance is a valuable commodity.
Which decays. It has to be captured. When there's some available, you have to grab it because it goes off. Because soon enough you'll be entirely fluent, uselessly fluent.
Yeah, and then you fall into the trap of just using acronyms all the time, and no one knows what you're saying. David.
Yeah, I was just going to say in response to Stephen, I mean, it's also my first. This is my first. I don't actually know what this group is. There was an advert for the mailing list at some point, which people has joined, and then this was the first meeting since then. Anyway, yeah. So coming from the other side, I mean, I'm kind of like obviously a LaTeX maintainer for 30 years or something, and a mathematician. But it's very easy on our side to generate stuff that we hope is accessible, but we don't. You know, I force myself to install NVDA, and I force myself to try to understand. If people aren't used to that kind of software, it's very hard, apart from the maths, which is harder still. I mean, to navigate a document via a screen reader when you're not used to that kind of interface is stressful, let's say. Yeah, I think everybody has different backgrounds and different experiences, and you say you don't understand some of the programming language stuff, but understanding whether what we're making is useful is a real problem for us. It's easy to like follow the PDF spec and say this is well tagged PDF, it's therefore accessible. And on the MathML group, our usual minute taker is totally blind, and I give him a document every now and then. He says, "Well, I can't read it." He tells me what the experience he gets, and it's not quite what I'd hoped. So yeah, it's I just want to mention that it isn't just that everybody else understands everything, and the programming side is the only thing you need to pick up.
It just feels that way. I mean,
yeah,
I think lots of the conversation often gets quite technical too. But one of the things I really love about this group is actually you do have the kind of programming side of it, people coming from programming side, and then you have the people who are coming in from a math side, and both of these are kind of and then you have the people coming in from an accessibility side, and these are all three of them are fairly niche skills, which take years to develop, let alone developing all three. But it's nice to get everyone together, kind of talking, regardless.
And certainly when we are rolling out more LaTeX generated tagged PDF, we won't be offended if people who actually need that accessibility if they say it's not good enough to prioritize what we should do better, because everyone working on the team is sighted, to put it bluntly, yeah, we do the best we can, but yeah. So honest criticism is always welcome.
Josh.
Just in terms of sort of supporting this group, and I'm kind of thinking for those of coming at it from the sort of like the learning technologist sort of side who aren't in sort of in the world of LaTeX and things like that. Is it worth having a session at some point next year to try and mop up some of these kind of people who are new and just have it like as a side session, like this is a kind of ask me anything. This this is why people have want to publish write things in LaTeX. These are some of the problems, and maybe steps through some of the stuff that Lillian posted, like Emma Cliff's kind of document there. But like just kind of like show some of what some of those workflows are, and then kind of try and initiate people of like what the challenges, so what some of those challenges are. A little bit. I don't know if that's helpful.
I personally would find that very useful, because I can't imagine that you could run, or you and other persons would run a session. I would come to that and come away without having learned loads of stuff. So I mean, and even if I didn't learn as much as I thought I was going to learn, I would still learn stuff, and therefore it's totally worth doing if you're prepared to put the effort in on that. I would certainly be signing up for that.
Sounds like I've got at least 3 different workshops now written down. So it sounds like we're developing a workshop series. Lillian.
Yeah, I'm happy to kind of come at it from a non-maths. Do you know what I mean? If a workshop run by someone who doesn't speak maths might be comfortable for other learning technologists who just need to be able to work with their mathematicians and their STEM people in that persuasion space. But also, I mean, I don't know how accurate what I've written down is in the last bit, but the reason why it's so confusing to join one of these meetings is we veer from LaTeX into BookML to Quad. We veer from technologies into sub-technologies, we veer from accessibility chat to technical chat. And it is very hard. Just even reading a glossary doesn't give you enough. So, as someone who's had to grapple and swim in this torrent for 6 years, I feel like, I wrote down what I wrote because I kind of thought maybe that will help a little bit for you to put things in a box and go, oh, they were talking about LaTeX for people who want who typically type in tech editors and just want everything to happen in that world. But then we just segue into Markdown, and people are like, how does that connect with LaTeX? You know, it is a lot to take in. So I think years ago, I created that kind of primer, which starts from like people who handwrite maths, people who use Word or PowerPoint, people who want to type maths on the VLE, people who do tech. And then, of course, you've got your RStudio, you know, and Markdown type people. And RStudio is all things to all people, isn't it? You can bring in almost anything, Python and all sorts. So it becomes a huge, like, we're talking without themes, and I think that's harder for people to follow. So I would suggest that we actually try and theme it a little bit more in meetings to help people follow along. But that's just a suggestion.
I also think things change very quickly too, actually. So like even some of the stuff you've written down in there, I think occasionally some of it's slightly out of date. And as we've heard today, these technologies are moving quickly, so it's hard to keep up. Norman.
I think that responding to that also responds to a question that David asked implicitly. What is the point of this group? And I think that it has a deliberately rather diffuse agenda. I think that there are no. I think there's little in the way of deliverables. So it's a talking shop in the best way, I think. So I think that it's, as Elaine mentioned, it's not just about LaTeX, although I think of it as the Making LaTeX Accessible group, which is inaccurate. So I think it can potentially cover a large number of bases, and it might be reasonable, therefore, to be more deliberately themed meetings. It might, at the same time, be also quite useful not to be, because I think this has been a quite useful discussion, almost precisely because it isn't themed. So I think there's a balance to be struck there. I don't know if that clarifies David's implicit question at all.
That is. Oh,
yeah.
sorry, David, you go.
Sorry, but yeah, I mean, a bit. I mean, that's partly. I mean, it doesn't need to take up the last 2 minutes of this, but yeah, I have actually no idea like what organization this is, or I mean, I assume it's the UK academic. I mean, it's literally it's like it's one of the 50 math related email lists I'm on. So yeah, obviously I know the acronym JISC, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter in a sense. I mean, there's people here talking about relevant subjects, but and also like when I went to the archives, it seemed to think I should have a login to actually see anything, which I don't have. I just have an email account thing. So yeah, I think
the only connection to JISC is that it's hosted on the JISC mailing list server, which was intended to be a place where JISC aimed to support mailing lists rather than having everyone create inadequate ones on a site-by-site basis. And that, because that's a big thing, it has gone down the road of presuming that everyone has a work email address to they can link up with it. So I think that's why there is the rather odd experience from the point of view of a conventional listserv. I think it is basically just a big listserv.
Yeah, it's just like the archives. I mean, I got not the archives, the minutes for this meeting, the agenda for this meeting. I got an email, but I can't see it on the archive. It says I need an account.
Okay.
I mean, there is also the website that has.
Yeah, there's probably instructions I haven't read, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, I think actually this also highlights a different point too. We've had lots of people join this year, and I think the group itself is kind of changing. The needs of what we need to do is changing because different people are joining from different areas, and we're kind of at different stages. So I think there's been lots of this year discussion has been what are we as a group and kind of who are we helping. But yes, I think it is. I find these talks, even if I don't understand all of it, I also find them quite useful because you kind of see the breadth of everything going on, and the stuff you're really not aware of. But I also appreciate it might be good to have but maybe it's good to have kind of concentrated workshops thematic around one thing, and then a kind of more general meeting, and going both the kind of general we can do whatever, and a more focused let's talk about LaTeX or whatever.
We can always talk about LaTeX.
We can always find someone who wants to, and lots of people who really don't.
You'll have to ban Frank and me.
Good. We have 4 minutes left. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up?
Not really. I just want to say, I mean, I don't know if I'm sort of sticking Josh's kind of head in the sand here a little bit by forcing him to kind of do something after he kindly offered to maybe explain things a little bit more for those of us who are not au fait with everything. But personally, I still feel that every time somebody comes to me with an accessible maths related problem, I have to kind of work out where they are in a potentially enormous flowchart of, this is what I've started with and this is what I'd like to finish with. And it kind of depends what their familiarity is with a certain type of package, what they're using, what their desired output is, and so on. And I almost have to work out what they're trying to do before I can work out how I could help them. And there's almost some enormous kind of flow chart that says, well, a person could turn up here doing this, and if that's the thing, then these are the routes available to you to try and help them produce some fully accessible output. That kind of almost like a map of what I have to do when people come and ask me questions. That I think something like that would be really beneficial to me, but I don't want to kind of selfishly tailor any session that somebody might have offered kindly to do just to help me out. It's not all about counselling Steve Bolton's session, is it? You know.
I don't know. Wait, actually, talk of a map's happened for you, and actually, me and Lillian did one summer kind of do a map.
I think as well, Stephen, if you try the primer that I kind of designed it, 2019, exactly where you were, I was like, oh, so people want to create maths using all these eclectic methods, but ultimately the end goal is the student wants to be able to use the notes flexibly on a mobile, on different devices. They might want to copy and paste. They might want to listen. A screen reader definitely needs to be able to navigate it. So I use the Universal Design for Learning pyramid to kind of talk people through, what do students want to be able to do? What is accessible maths to them? And then you kind of match a tutor's starting point with the ultimate endpoint. And it is a map. I'm happy to, I don't know, have a separate session with Joshua and Stephen. Maybe we can bring something into the next meeting when we've worked something out together, as an offering to see if it makes sense to other people. I do know that if you simplify it all, Stephen, and just start with handwritten, Word, PowerPoint, LaTeX, RStudio, VLE, and then go from there, you might be able to work something out within your own organization that makes sense to you. Because obviously my primer works for me because institutionally, we've put in Equatio, we've put in math type, we've got a LaTeX template, even though I know I'm waiting for it to be deprecated completely, because LaTeX will just do the thing for us. And yeah, so it is slow teasing process.
Yeah, I would be very happy to be involved in trying to do something like that, because I mean, on a purely selfish level, I'm going to learn loads. So yeah, happy to do that.
Sounds like we've got exciting things coming up next year. On which note, that is midday. So thank you everyone for coming, and I hope you all have a good end 2024, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2025.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.